Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In our next review and reaction to the latest X-Men 97 episode, Episode 4, The Arcade. This was, at least for the first 20 minutes or so, a Jubilee-focused episode. So fans of that character got to see her in a more active role. This episode is premised on it being Jubilee's 18th birthday, and we only see a glimpse of the other X-Men at the beginning of this episode sitting around drinking coffee and discussing how to celebrate Jubilee's big day. Magneto wants to do danger room drills, and Jubilee states she wants to go to an arcade. Now, upset that Magneto does not see things her way, we cut to Jubilee and Roberto, aka Sunspot, sitting in Jubilee's room and griping about it. For some reason, the television and Jubilee's console, something that looks like a cross between a Super Nintendo and an Atari 2600, turn on. The game cartridge is Mojoverse, a game Jubilee does not recognize, nor is it explained how it got into the mansion in the first place. Immediately, Jubilee and Sunspot are ensnared in electrical tentacles and transported to the video game universe run by Mojo, whose backstory is never really explained. In the comics, Mojo is a member of the Spineless Ones, a creature that needs a mechanical chair to move around. He is also the dictatorial ruler of this television and video game universe where his audience, who in the comics are considered slaves, watch gladiatorial matches for entertainment. The more ratings Mojo gets, the more powerful he becomes. He is basically a parody of the stereotypical Hollywood executive who only cares about ratings and money and not creativity or originality. As Jubilee and Sunspot are thrust into a video game designed around the old 90s X-Men arcade game, except here, if you die in the game, you die in real life, and unbeknownst to Mojo, an old beta version of Jubilee has survived and hacked her way into the game, giving the young Jubilee help in defeating first Magneto and then Mojo himself. Now, after Mojo's defeat, Jubilee and Sunspot are freed and wake back up in the mansion where Jubilee kisses Sunspot, a romance that had been hinted at since episode 1. Now, if you think I ran through that really fast, there's a reason for it, and we'll get to that. The final 7 to 8 minutes of episode 4 are dedicated to Storm and her quest to regain her powers with the help of Forge. In these few minutes, we are given more backstory about Forge as he fails to fix Storm. She constantly wonders why Forge wants to help her, and Forge finally confesses that he was once a soldier, and that is how he lost his hand and his leg. He is also a mutant with the ability of intuitive engineering, meaning he can conceive of and build whatever he needs technologically for whatever situation he's in. Now, in the comics, Forge was a veteran of the Vietnam War, but since this is 1997, I'm going to assume Forge was involved in the Kosovo War or Operation Desert Storm. So, Forge explains that after the war and after his injuries, he went to work for the US government, helping design devices that could neutralize mutant abilities, which is where the technology that hurt Storm in episode 2 originated. Storm is infuriated with this and strikes Forge despite him professing his love for her, which is kind of weird because he only met her a week ago in a bar. What they don't tell you about Forge is that he's a member of the Cheyenne Nation, and he and his ancestors are tasked with keeping the adversary from destroying the universe. In the comics, this particular villain wants to rip apart the known universe and remake it himself. It is a demonic force and can only really be defeated through magic, and maybe adamantium. Storm and Forge are attacked by the adversary towards the end of this episode, which ends in a cliffhanger with Forge seemingly out of action and Storm in the clutches of the adversary, who is in the form of a demonic giant bird. With that, my honest opinion is that episode 4 can be taken in two ways. The first is that this is a cartoon and mostly made for kids, and that it is what it is. The second way to look at this episode is that it is the worst episode so far, a far cry from episodes 1 and 2, and a continuation in the drop in narrative quality that we saw in episode 3. The animation continues to be fantastic, so let's give credit where credit is due, but animation will only get you so far. Jubilee's story had so much potential and seemed like it was trying to convey something deeper in meaning, but it fell very short of this goal because the writing was so poor. Is it about growing up? Is it about letting go of childhood? Not letting go of childhood? Chasing your dreams? I really cannot definitively say what the meaning of the episode really was, because the episode itself didn't know. And it tried to be cute with callbacks to the 90s and borrowing heavily from the Matrix, including using a phone to teleport from within the digital world. But that's the episode. Just stuff put together to look cool, but there's really nothing behind it. Mojo is never given depth, so he does not feel like a threat. At no time did I feel like Jubilee was in danger or that Sunspot would really get hurt, and a story with no believable conflict is a poor story, a boring story. Jubilee's portion of this episode could have used those extra 7 to 8 minutes given to Storm to flesh out the script and give Jubilee more depth as a character instead of leaving her so shallow. And it could have established Mojo more for the audience, a misstep seen in episode 3 with the Goblin Queen, these throwaway villains that do not elevate the hero. Storm's portion was much better in terms of narrative and using action to enhance the character instead of distract from it. It would have been nice to see this portion just get added to a full episode of Storm exploring her life and journey without powers, something the comics did very, very well when it happened. And I assume the series will dive into Forge's Native American roots and the mythology that comes with that, which I think will be very cool to see because there's so much there to work with. Overall, it feels like these last couple of episodes are rushing through to get to a finish, meet a time constraint, or not given the time to be edited and reworked. I can see now, if this is the continuing quality of the series, why Beau DeMayo was let go by Disney. Maybe it really was a difference in creative direction. And that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Did you like episode 4? Do you agree or disagree with my assessment? And do you think Jubilee got a little shortchanged here and not getting a full episode all to herself? And check out my other videos on the X-Men 97 series by clicking on the thumbnails at the end of the video or on the links in the description. As always, I am your reluctant gringo. Thank you for watching, and from south of the border, salud and a huevo.